but we needed to be great and to close out, an important game at home. So we recognize it's 2 points that we need to now chase. Still have a situation where we kind of control our own destiny. It starts with a difficult match against Orlando and then a quick trip straight to Columbus. So two challenging games for sure. And we've stressed to the group that finding a way to come back with a minimum three, hopefully 4 points would go a long way to finalizing our ultimate goal, which is a playoff berth, and then going into the final game against Cincinnati. So tough task. Orlando's playing very, very well right now. We recognize that, and we know that we'll need to be at our max on the road to get points.
Thanks, Jim. Jonathan Tenwald.
Thanks, Nico. Jim, this is a subject that we've discussed on and off the last few weeks, but now heading into these two road games, what do you think it is that makes a team good on the road and in some ways better on the road than at home? And what do you think makes this team good on the road and better on the road this season than it's been at home?
Yeah, it's been a unique season that way, not just for us. Obviously, our home record's unacceptable. We know that, and we've talked about it a lot. But if you do look throughout the league, even this Orlando team that's in incredible form, they've had different tests at home. So I think teams have grown with confidence more on the road as a whole in the Western Conference and in the Eastern Conference. I think teams now are more organized in terms of going in, being organized and tough to play through, and then counterattacking. I think teams in general have improved in that. And you're seeing, more teams go on the road and win. And usually you see a lot of teams with, 10 plus wins at home, especially towards the top of the table. But there's a lot less of those this season, I'll just say. So, home or away, it's really tough to win games in this league. Our group has been pretty serviceable and strong on the road and has a very respectable road record. Where we've let ourselves down this year has been at home. And it's something that we obviously have to improve on in the future for sure. But right now we have two tough road games against two of the best teams, I think, in the Eastern Conference. So really tough test and a strong opponent in Orlando.
And how many minutes do you think Stanley has in him at this point?
Yeah, Danley's, I would say, as close to 100% as possible. He's a guy that obviously we all remember the really great Red Bull performance, but then picked up an injury, and that's tough when it's stop and start like that. So he's going to play a big role in both of these next two games. He's an important player for us and one that I think we need playing at his max if we're going to get into the playoffs and then, more importantly, do something in the playoffs. Danley will be a big reason behind that, and certainly will play a big role against Orlando.
Jillian.
Thanks, Nico. Hi, Jim. When you look at Orlando's defensive form this season, what stands out to you? And are there ways to exploit it, given that they've given up 9 defensive errors and 7 penalties this season?
They're a very, very well coached, aggressive team. Oscar's teams are always very brave. They're always very physical. They're always very strong defensively, and they're very, very good in the attack. So I think that, sometimes in certain years, the things that you bring up, like penalties, can happen. But I always like teams that are brave and aggressive and proactive rather than reactive. And I think Oscar's teams are always that way. So it will be very difficult, again, to break them down. When you do get chances against them in the transition moments, because they are aggressive, pushing both outside backs high, you have to try to get at them and get at them quick, because once they get behind the ball, his teams are always very difficult and organized and tough to break down. So you see how dynamic they are in the attack with players like Torres, Angulo, Maguire, Ojeda. When they get out in space, they're very, very dangerous. So again, on the road, we have to be compact, organized, close to each other. We've had some good recent road performances in New York City at Red Bull as examples. And that needs to kind of carry over into this game where down the stretch, it's always about one play here or there and being the team that makes that play in either of the boxes to get a win. So Tough task, like I said, and need to be at our max to get a result.
Joe Tanzi.
Hey Jim, how are you?
Hi, how you doing, Joe?
How much scoreboard watching do you guys do with 3 games left? Do you try not to let that seep in, or how do you kind of manage that over this next week?
Yeah, it's look, again, I'm pretty dialed into everyone's opponents for the rest of the year. What scenarios can happen? There's Toronto has 2 games left, New England has 4, so there's different wild, crazy things that can go on in the next couple weeks. What I do know is that if we get 4 points out of the next 3 games, it pretty much guarantees a playoff berth. I know that's not an easy thing to do, but with each team playing each other, kind of cannibalizing each other, taking points from each other, 4 points should all but guarantee an opportunity in the playoffs. Are there scenarios where 1 point does or 3 points does? Yes, there are. But then you're asking for help. You're asking for luck. You're asking for referee decisions, or if you leave it to the last game, you're a red card away from being in trouble. So you want to. I always say control your own destiny while you're in control of it, which we are right now, and that winning is ultimately the thing that takes all the uncertainty out of it. So that will be hard in Orlando, but it's the best recipe for the response to Atlanta, where we feel like we left 2 points on the table. So it's been a challenging year, no question, but let's finish it the right way. We are still a team that's in good form and is dangerous, and we're playing against a team that's also in good form and already clinched the playoffs. So let's start the right way. Be difficult to play against, play our way, and try and get a result.
All right, and final question to go to Jose Nunez.
Hi, Jim. As you get here into these challenging games, the end of the season, tail end of it, for this match specifically, injury-wise, everybody healthy? I know you mentioned Danley getting closer and closer
Yeah.
to 100%, but I know you've also mentioned tightness, minutes, etc., being a factor. How's the rest of the squad?
Yeah, look, we put a lot into Atlanta for sure. We have 3 games this week, none of which are easy. I think you guys know at this stage the spots we've been able to keep fresh, where we don't have much drop off or even any drop off. And those are obviously the right back spot, the midfield spot. We've had some rotation for sure. Those are the areas where we can tweak and change based on opponent. I will say that this Orlando team is a team that's second in the league in terms of putting crosses into the box. That weighs into things, and 75% of those crosses from the analytics department come down their left-hand side, so they're very dangerous on that side. Oscar creates overloads on both sides. We have to do a good job trying to shut them down in terms of if you just get out to deny the service. That's probably the easiest way, because they do a good job running with 4 and 5 guys in the box and play the percentages and get on the end of a lot. So we really have to limit them, and we'll choose a team that takes away their strengths. We'll have guys that come off the bench that are going to have to impact the game in Orlando. We'll have guys that don't start against Orlando that are going to turn around and start against Columbus, where we'll need a different skill set as well. So it's a really important week. Business trip. We're going to Orlando, then straight to Columbus, and we're going to push like crazy to try to get the points that I talked about. Hopefully 6, of course, but 4 would be amazing as well.
Thank you. Safe travels.
Thank you.